always hear about the Carolina Hurricanes and the culture that Rob Brindamore has set. Well, who do you think that number 2 guy is right there behind Rob Brindamore? It's your captain, Jordan Staal. Him being in that locker room, him being in that lineup, he's the guy that drives the bus for those guys on the ice. He holds everyone else accountable, and you know what? He still does things the right way, both on the ice and off the ice. We hear about the conditioning of the Carolina Hurricanes at all times, and the 2 of the guys that actually pass the conditioning test with flying colors and usually are the most in shape, we heard this past season, Brent Burns and Jordan Staal. So if you know that your captain, no matter what his age is, he's 34 going on 35, no matter what his age is, Chris Lee, knowing that you have your captain in place for a team that's still overall pretty young is important and invaluable for this franchise.
Absolutely. Paul and Ihander and I talked about this a little bit on this past Friday here on the afternoons, and we were both saying that, hey, we would rather have Jordan Staal here, but also we just weren't sure what he was asking for. Now we know what he's going to be making. Mm-hmm. But if it was going to be for that $6 million mark, then we were hoping that maybe already with the length of time that Rod Brindamore has already been in, maybe somebody else is already ready to be captain just in case he was wanting some money that the Carolina Hurricanes just can't pay him at this stage in his career. Well, it looks like they got that part figured out. You keep that guy there, keep that stability with the captain that you've had for the last 10 years and the last 5 years under Rod Brindamore, and now everything's good. So I'm so happy that they got this together and this worked out and that things weren't at an impasse as were reported on Friday.
Yeah, I saw that last week when I was out that impasse. I was like, that dude's not going anywhere. Let's call it what. That dude's not going anywhere. My guess is that they're trying to figure out some of the finer details. For example, his contract has a no movement clause in it until August of 2026, which then becomes a full no trade clause. So a no movement clause is that he can't get sent down to the minors. He can't be placed on waivers. And if there is an expansion draft, he can't be left open unless he gives permission to be left open for an expansion draft. So you have to protect him in that regard. So that's what a no movement clause is. And then August 2026, I think August 15, 2026, I saw, is that it becomes a full no trade clause. So basically going into that final year of that contract, there's a no trade clause. So if they do want to trade him, they got to do it within the next couple of years, which I can't imagine them doing. Again, he's the captain, the leadership that he brings. He still put up pretty decent numbers, 17 goals, 17 assists last season, and his durability as well. He played in 81 games. He didn't play in 82, Chris, because he had to miss one game due to a personal reason. So it's not like he was injured. The guy's a tank. And he's valuable to your franchise in terms of what he does defensively and everything that he provides in terms of penalty kills and that such. You don't need him to go out there and score 60 goals. If he does, great. I'm not going to hold back or score 60 points. I'm not going to turn that down, but that's not where his value lies.
No, absolutely. And I know that the Carolina Hurricanes need a little bit more scoring.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they do.
So
I'm on that bandwagon.
I was on the possibility of, look, if they end up getting rid of him for another person who can come in and bring scoring, okay. We knew that we are going to have to say some hard goodbyes.
No, yeah.
But I'm glad that this is not the goodbye here, because he is valuable and it's more than just what he puts on the ice, as you just said. It's what he does off the ice as well and how he kind of keeps his team together.
We'll dive more into what Jordan Staal had to say yesterday about wanting to finish his career in Carolina here in Raleigh with the Carolina Hurricanes. But something that we saw yesterday, Chris, really starting to float around, and we saw more about it this morning. Apparently the Hurricanes are looking to bring back defenseman Tony DeAngelo. That's right, Tony DeAngelo, defenseman that played just one season with the Carolina Hurricanes in 2021, 2022, put up over 50 points, was a plus 30 player defensively. Now he's paired up on a top pair with Jacob Slavin, but in the offseason, he was a restricted free agent a year ago. They traded him away, his rights, to the Philadelphia Flyers for 3 picks, a second, a third, and a fourth, and he signs a 2-year contract for $10 million total, $5 million per year with the Philadelphia Flyers, Chris. But it looks like the Flyers are just trying to completely retool everything about their lineup. They're looking to send Carolina DeAngelo back, while Philadelphia is actually going to keep about half of his salary, but it did hit a snag, Chris.
Hit a snag, but here's one of the things I have to say. Like Don Waddell, if he's able to pull this off, if the NHL says, yeah, this can go on, like he is just one of the best GMs that's just out there, because how do you trade a guy away, get some draft picks for him, and then the team that you traded him to will want to trade him back to you and still pay half of his salary
Yeah.
that they signed him to that you weren't even on the hook for in the beginning. So it's still, it's just amazing if that ends up happening. But as you said, yes, the trade has hit a snag because of that very reason, because he was with the Carolina Hurricanes just a year ago. NHL has to go in and try to see if this is going to be within the CBA, within the rules of the CBA.
So yeah, the rules of language in the collective bargaining agreement states that a player returning within 12 months, especially with retained salary, might be looked at as a possibly like circumvention of like the salary cap and things along those lines. So the contention for the Carolina Hurricanes is that when they traded D'Angelo's rights to the Flyers had signed him to that contract extension.
Right.
It wasn't like a sign and trade type situation, but it was the situation where a different general manager at the time with the Philadelphia Flyers was the one that signed him, traded for him, signed him. He got fired, and this new general manager is coming in being like, we want to move on from this guy. Tony DeAngelo obviously knows Carolina, having played here the previous season. And if you know what, if you could do it where you could basically rent Tony DeAngelo for a 1-year rental for $2.5 million, a guy that can play on your third defense pair and also quarterback your second power play unit, and you don't have to worry about him matching up against other teams' top 6 forwards. In terms of building depth, in terms of on the ice stuff, we'll get to off the ice in a bit, but in terms of on the ice stuff, there's value in that. There really is, because this team still needs that. With Shane Gostisbehere likely going to be gone in free agency, the team still does need someone that can be on that third pair and quarterback a second power play unit, Chris.
Yeah, and as you said, there's a few people who have things to feel about this, whether it's on the ice or off the ice. And this would make 4 right-handed defensemen for the Carolina Hurricanes, which means that somebody might be on the move if this is the case. And so a lot of folks are probably thinking, you talked about this, maybe this does mean the end of Brett Pesce with the Carolina Hurricanes.
We'll dive